Hello my loyal companions, welcome back to the channel and to another episode of Rogue Revealed, the series where I take you through everything you need to know about Rogue Company. In today's video we're bringing back another map guide today looking at High Castle. If you do go on to enjoy the video or learn something new, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel, but for now, let's get into it. As always, we're going to have a look at High Castle as an overview on the map, and as you can see, you have the defense spawning here on the left hand side and the attack spawning over here on the right hand side. The defense actually have a really quick time to get to the two bomb sites B and A located here, and these yellow lines represent the zip wires that connect towards the A site. Generally, this map is said to be quite defender heavy, and for that reason it's actually banned in some tournaments, but I personally disagree with this. I think if you're a good team and you can move around, coordinate and breach really well, you can play around this map no problem, particularly if you're good at rotating and diverting your flight paths. I think the biggest reason this map is considered so bad for attackers is because the A site is almost unbreachable. The only way you get there is if there's no defenders actually guarding it at that time, or only one. The moment that you go into a 4v4 trying to breach A site, you're done. Other than that, it's your standard 3-lane map with a route down A, a route down middle, and a route down B. And there's a lot of good connections between this map. It flows really well between each other, except for when you sort of get to that A side. But B and the middle flow really well. They sort of have a lot of intersections, a lot of points where you can cross over, and a lot of good flanking opportunities for those rogues. Let's get onto some main areas of engagement. So I have highlighted the main ones, which I said is sort of around B and mid, and you can see they're connected because they flow quite well together. The defender side will sort of get to this area as the attacking side gets about to this area, and so a lot of engagement happens around here, around this fountain, with a bit of an advantage, honestly, to the defenders because of the raised ground that is right here on their side. You then have a connector through to B, where again it's a similar situation. The B platform is raised, and the attackers have to try and breach through quite a big courtyard with only minimal cover and a lot of exposure to this side flank to try and breach it. It is kind of difficult. You do need to utilize flashes and smokes and grenades and breach really well, but if you're able to get it down, it can be really effective. Having a look at the A site then, you can see most of the action happens around this main area with the big platform where the site is, the staircase going all the way down to the lower region where the attackers come through, and the zip wire down the other side. This is a massive choke point for attackers if there's a lot of defenders there, or even just well-equipped defenders, so it is a bit difficult to push, and I wouldn't recommend it unless you're certain there's not many over here on this site. Let's look at some particular points of interest, starting actually with that A site that I was talking about, and the staircase specifically that is down here, and why it's such a choke point. So you can see from this that it's not very good for the attackers. They really have to go up this staircase massively exposed, or they go up the zip wire, which is also massively exposed, and this can cause a lot of issues. You need to make sure that if you're doing this, there are not many people there, and that you're able to smoke it off or get some sort of covering fire down as you do it. Also be careful not to jump off the map. Any space down here that you fall down is going to be your certain doom. Sticking with A site, I want to show you this spot over here across the zip wire, and there's a reason for this because it's a really good bomb planting defense location if you plant the bomb in the right space. If you plant the bomb just here on A site and then go across the zip, you can actually sit here in really good cover on the defender side spawn and guard your bomb. It's also a great spot for defenders who are rotating round to get a cheeky angle, but if you do then try and go across the zip yourself, it is quite dangerous. Moving on over to the mid, the actual mid section itself is quite interesting. I wanted to point it out to you just because of the way it's laid out and the way that so much interlocks between this area. This is a point where massive fights happen, as I mentioned, and you can see there's lots of funnels that go into it with a lot of high ground and not very much cover with the exception of the fountain, which gets played around quite a lot. This is a massive place for you to use your utility and try and breach it effectively. Going on to the attacking side of B then, the approach here, this little spot right here is a fantastic spot for snipers by jumping up on these boxes and aiming down and trying getting some picks off onto the B site. It's not amazing, Phantom isn't fantastic at pushing B, she's really good at defending A or even sometimes breaching A, but for B she's not useful unless you can get cheeky spots like this, which can be quite effective. The last point of interest is right here at the back of B, and this is a really good flank protection route if you think that people are flanking through mid or from A. You can sit right here up on this wall. People don't normally know about this lower area down here, and you can get a lot of free kills this way if people aren't expecting it, and you really should, if you're coming from this direction, expect someone to be there and play around that information. Moving now onto the best defensive setup that I have, there's a little bit of interchanging here, but I'm going to go over the basics for you. You need to make sure you have at least one person on A or near A in a way that stops them getting across easily or for free. The reason for this is because if they do get to site, then you have the awkward issue of them pushing that A site yourself, and it's a really difficult push. My biggest recommendation here is that you actually set up some sort of tripwire or Ronin ballistic knife at the end of the wire, so if they do try and come across that, then they instantly get blown up, and then you get some information that way. You then yourself kind of move down up here towards this midsection, so you can still see the staircase and still see A really well, but you're closer to mid to help this person in the middle. This person in the middle is generally a really good flanker. If you keep them here, they can win on 1v1 if people come through mid, then flank themselves around to the back of A or B, which is generally a really good strat. And then on a B site is where the most action is going to happen in this game. You really need some sort of crowd control. My favorite personally is Vi, but you also want some sort of trophy system as well. So maybe some sort of Vi trench combo is really good, or you can go like say a trench and then some other longer range rogue just to play around this platform, stop the hard breach, and stop with some zone control, them getting too close to the site. If you're able to just give them a massive halt at breaching B, you'll win the round. Like, it's really easy. You get your flanker to then pinch them around if they try and re-rotate, but you just stop them getting through the site. Going on then to attacking A, which I said is quite hard, you really need to be focusing around baiting them out to go B in some way. Even sending like a Dima down to B if you're trying to go A to shoot his nade and pretend like you're breaching is worth it if you're then able to get 3 people onto the A site. This is a massive site to hold, and it's really risky to try and take it. My personal favourite playstyle is actually just all going across the zip and then chancing your luck here. I know it's not the most strategic strategy, but it will work if you can pull it off, and that is generally phenomenal. The other way is you can sort of do 2 zip, 1 on staircase, but again, this is really risky. You're such a disadvantage on the low ground here with no cover as you push up, so it's not a fantastic site to breach generally, and I wouldn't recommend it unless you're certain you can pull it off. Going on to then attacking B, this is a much easier site to push. You can either 4 stacks people going through B, use your utility like mad, use your breach like mad, get some picks, or simply just go and control the site and then defend it from there. Or you can do a 3-1 or 2-2, which is a bit of a softer breach onto the B site, but you have people through mid to clear out the midsection platform, and then also give some covering fire through the connector situated here between B and mid. If you are taking this site, you do need to breach it really hard. You need to use smoke grenades to cover off lines of sight that you're not able to hold easily. Flash grenades for the site, grenades for the site, demonade for the site is a must, and getting shots on into the kitchen as well, which is situated just here on the B site, which is great cover for the defenders, is so important. Make sure you're using your utility like hell on this map. Now we're going to look at some of the best rogues for this, and I'll go over them starting with the attacking rogues. Dima is a must. Dima is just a must. If you're trying to breach on this map, particularly B-side, you need a Dima. He's so useful, but you need to bait out those trophy systems if they are there on the site. Use your melee weapons, use kind of less impactful utility to bait out those trophies, and then use his breach to kill anyone who's actually on the site. Shark is actually really good for both sites as well, because you really have to push in and you're risking yourself getting shot quite a lot. Using Shack Overhill and just rushing onto it, whether he's using Shack Overhill then going across the zip, or using Shack Overhill then going across up the staircase on A side, or whether you're just running through the center of the courtyard on B to control the site, is really good, and that overshield will just help you be a bit more tanky as you try and do this approach, and you can soak up a few bullets for your team. Going on to the best defending rogues, I think Saint is actually really good on this map because there's quite a lot of rotation time between the 2 sites. Having the heal there can be really good. He can also set up his trip mine on that zip wire down at A, as I mentioned, which is incredible. Doing this, then rotating through to mid is a really good strategy, and one that we run quite a lot. You can also do the same with Ronan, who's in this mid section, because she's just viable on both sides of this map. Sticking with defense though, Vi is incredible on this map, throwing her poison down into the B courtyard and just completely stopping their advance. Trench is the same at being a bit more defensive, stopping their utility and slowing them down a little bit with the barbed wire. And then finally, sort of floating around between both sides is Lancer, who fulfills that flank role really well in this particular map. Go on to some final tips, which is really more of just a summary of what I mentioned before. The main one is going to be utility. Particularly if you're focusing B, you need to be using your utility. You need to make sure you're actually getting picks with them as well, though it's not just about throwing it out, although sometimes it can be. Make sure you're actually hitting people with this utility to slow them down. If they're not affected, they don't have to move because of the nade, or they don't have to move because of a flash, then it's wasted and they're just going to peek back out and shoot you and absolutely lazy you. If you do not use your utility well on the breach here, you're not going to be able to win attacking on High Castle. The other massive tip for the attackers, again, just bait out this A. Do not just rush A off the bat. Do not make your flight paths obvious. Do not do an obvious A push, because if they do clock it and they do rotate there and they do watch it, you're dead without a second thought. For defenders, my biggest tip is just to be really keen-eyed and not try and be deceived by what they're doing. Think about what they're doing, actually look at their patterns, study what they've done in the previous rounds and think, okay, where are they actually going? And my last tip for everyone is just actually don't underrate playing around mid. Mid is a really good little funnel point. It is a really good area to fight around. And whether you're attacking or defending, you can win a lot of trades and get a lot of free wins off of playing around mid. And it just kind of diversifies it from pushing A or pushing B. Playing around this mid area offers just a little bit more difference in terms of how you're going to play the round. Okay then guys, that's going to take us to the end of the video. If you did enjoy it, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also come follow me on twitch.tv/RadtharGaming to see live game commentaries, guides, Q&As and tournaments. All the links you're going to need are in the description below, but for now guys, I hope you have a fantastic day, and remember, be loyal, be brave, be relentless, and I'll see you in the next video.